here this morning.
Local information that makes a difference. Here's your regional weather.
Showers, even a storm into the afternoon today. Temperatures in the mid-60s. A south wind at 15 to 25 miles per hour. Cloudy tonight. Temperatures in the lower to mid-40s. A north wind at 15 to 25 miles per hour tonight. Cloudy skies on Wednesday. Highs in the lower to mid-60s. A northeast wind at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Cloudy Wednesday night. Lows around 50. Showers likely after the 1 o'clock hour on Thursday. Temperatures in the mid-60s. Between a quarter and half an inch of rainfall on Thursday. East-southeast winds at 15 miles an hour. Wind gusts of 30 miles an hour. Friday showers. Temperatures in the mid-60s. And a look at the weekend. A nice weekend shaping up. Partly sunny on Saturday. A high in the upper 60s. And Sunday, partly sunny. Highs in the lower to mid-70s. As we continue through this Tuesday morning, right now, cloudy skies in central Illinois. Right now in Bloomington, it is 59 degrees, 60 in Hayworth. It's 60 in Leroy, 60 in Farmer City, 59 in Champaign, 62 in Monticello, 63 in Decatur, 61 in Lincoln, 63 in Springfield, and 60 in Peoria. 61 overcast in Clinton. Southwest winds are calm, 100% humidity with 10 miles of visibility on this Tuesday. Weather anytime is at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
Why would you wander around a warehouse store looking for paint when you could just swing by your neighborhood Ace? In addition to Ace's award-winning service, we have top-rated paint brands. Plus, our color matching technology allows us to match any color. So stop wandering and start painting. Head to your neighborhood Ace today.
This is Brad from Gibson Ace Hardware in Clinton, Illinois. Stop in to see us, the helpful place at 114 North Madison Street, Clinton.
Using the latest technology for positive patient outcomes. That's the goal when you're treated in the ER at the Warner Hospital and Health Services in Clinton. CEO Paul Scarron here to let you know we've invested in an upgraded CT machine adjacent to our ER. It enables our ER doctors to detect and diagnose what's wrong with a patient clearer and faster than ever. Bigger hospitals have it, and Warner Hospitals got it. Just another way Warner Hospital and Health Services in Clinton using the latest technology for positive patient outcomes. And there's more to come.
The Miller Media Group in Taylorville and Clinton are looking for a person who considers getting results mandatory while maintaining the highest levels of ethical standards. Selling must be in your blood and self-starting is your calling card. You must be able to work alone or under close supervision. If you meet our stringent standards and we believe you can be a part of a progressive team of committed professionals, we want to talk to you. A $2,000 signing bonus is offered. Send your resume via email to sales@randyradio.com. That's sales@randyradio.com. The Miller Media Group is an equal opportunity employer.
Life is uncertain. Stop in and see me, State Farm Agent Jason France, on the west side of the Clinton Square, or click our icon at DeWittDailyNews.com and see how our full lineup of State Farm insurance and financial services can help protect your family.
Local farm broadcaster Jared White covers the local agriculture news you need to know. Hear his reports by downloading the free WHOW mobile app.
This is The Morning Show on 92.3 FM in DeWitt County, WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. My guest on the phone today is Piatt County Sheriff Mark Vogelzang. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Sheriff, good morning, sir. How are you today?
Good morning, Seth. Doing very good.
Good to hear. Thanks for making time for us. As always, we certainly appreciate it. And Sheriff, we're going to dive into, I know we're speaking at the early part of May, but April was a big time of recognition for those in the first responder world. Of course, we think first responders and oftentimes we think police, fire, EMS, but we were just right before we came on, you were telling me there's unsung heroes in the first responder world, like the dispatchers, that when folks are in a moment of distress, that's who they speak to, is those dispatchers. There's also corrections and many others. Tell us about the month of April and some of the recognitions that took place throughout the course of the month.
Absolutely. The week of April 10th was Telecommunicator Week, so we honor our dispatchers. It's so important. They are obviously the first people that somebody in a time of need talks to. And as I've listened to different recordings of stuff of people calling in. It's incredible how calm they remain to try and get very critical information for our police responders or fire or medical, as well as trying to get that person on the other end of the line to take a breath and potentially do some life-saving measures such as CPR, all the while in a very chaotic situation. So they do an incredible job.
It's always it's never, I don't want to say fun, but it's enlightening, I guess I'll say. You see videos that get posted on social media of a call of distress. I saw one just the other day. In fact, a woman was masking a call to a pizza place, and she was actually talking to a dispatcher. And the way that those folks are, they've got as I told you before we started this morning, Sheriff, I left the job here at WHOW for a short time, pursuing an opportunity within the DeWitt County Dispatch Center. And, the ability for those folks to think on their feet through a lot of the protocols that they have to follow. They have to get a name, a date of birth, an address. There's things that they have to get information-wise to best help the person on the other end. For them to think on their feet in a lot of circumstances, or like you said, to calm a person down, that human element that they can bring to a situation, they're really, I agree with you, they're unsung heroes in the first responder world.
Absolutely. It's the worst time in a lot of these callers' lives when, they see somebody that they potentially love that's critically injured, or somebody's breaking into their house. And then for that dispatcher to stay on the line with them during these traumatic events and again keep them calm and get that critical information to pass along to those first responders is amazing a lot of times.
Absolutely. Talk a little bit more about what who else was recognized in the month of April, Sheriff.
Well, last week we had the Administrative Professionals Week, and for anybody that's in management, they know how important those people are to the successful running day-to-day operations within an organization. So those people are very critical. But then as well, corrections is this week, Corrections Week. Again, it's those people that have been arrested, they're locked up, and our correctional officers spend 24/7 with these people. A lot of times they're very violent people, but our correctional officers also take the time to provide help and assistance for those that need it while they are locked up. A lot of times, there are those mentally ill people that need some additional services or just some counseling, things like that. So, again, they do amazing jobs when they're locked down in the jails with the inmates.
Sure. So the Corrections Week, you said, is this week?
That's correct.
Yeah, for sure. And, it's one of those things, Sheriff, especially with dispatchers and corrections. I don't know how common it is anymore, but I know it used to be that sometimes those were often springboards to a police officer position or a law enforcement position on the front line. Is that still often something you see in those areas?
Yes, probably not as much, just because there are so many agencies that are looking for officers and deputies because they're short. So a lot of times people are going directly into that. But in the past, and still, you will see those dispatchers and correctional officers that are transitioning into the role of police or deputies. We just had a gentleman leave corrections 2 weeks ago to take a position on the road with McLean County Sheriff's Department. So yes, he spent several years in the jail. You learn a lot of good information while working the jail, and then he transitioned to working the road currently.
Yeah, I know there's a law enforcement official here in our area that has told me many times he feels like even the dispatcher position is something that before an officer heads to the road full time, they should have to spend a certain amount of time in that position because of how challenging it is, and to get a better understanding of the things that they do.
Absolutely, and to get into working the road, you obviously have to be 21 because you are carrying a firearm. But we do have even a master control position where somebody that has an interest in law enforcement, they can start at age 18, working master control, working the jail, transition into the correctional officer role, and then ultimately out onto the street. So it's a great transition for somebody that's even 18 years old if they choose to go into this profession.
Definitely. Again, Piatt County Sheriff Mark Vogelzang on the phone with us here on this here on the morning show for today. And Sheriff, of course, Police Week, that's kind of the big one that gets highlighted often, and folks probably most pay attention to when these types of things come around, these recognition weeks come around. Tell us about Police Week, and I know we're going to kind of dive into some greater talking points as it relates to police on the job and officers killed in the line of duty and things of that nature. What do you have for us there this morning?
Absolutely. Police Week was started in 1962. John F. Kennedy signed a proclamation designated May 15 as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the week in which it falls as Police Week. So it's we're going to honor. Last year we had 616 line of duty deaths according to the Officer Down Memorial page. So next week there's a lot of events in D.C. May 11th, they've got the National Police Canine Memorial Service. We do have a lot of canines that are killed in the line of duty as well. But there's a lot of big events next week in D.C., kind of culminating on Sunday, May 15th, with the annual National Peace Officers Memorial Service in D.C.
Of course, folks, remember, as we were talking this morning, Sheriff, before we got started, I was trying to remember exactly when it was that Officer Chris Oberheim in Champaign was killed in the line of duty. Of course, unfortunately, that's one that really kind of hit close to home for everybody in central Illinois, and the happenings in Champaign about a year ago. That's one that probably, I don't want to say open the eyes of a lot of people, but again, that component of hitting close to home, it can happen anywhere.
Absolutely. Chris was a very, very good friend of mine, as well as with my kids. He obviously coached softball, and the day that I will never forget was May 19 that morning.
For sure. As it relates to Sheriff, just that greater talking point of officers killed in the line of duty. I know I can't remember the exact data point, but I just know in general the last couple of years that number has really escalated in terms of the number of officers killed in the line of duty. It's a tragic trend, in all honesty.
Yes, you're correct. The assaults on officers have increased. Last year in Illinois alone, we had 10 officers that were killed in the line of duty.
When it comes to when it comes to that, Sheriff, what has happened? A lot of people point to, like the police bill that the state of Illinois passed last year. And from my perspective, I'm not sure exactly how much of that has to do with it quite yet, just because so much of that is forward thinking in terms of things that are going to be implemented, not necessarily this year, but in the years ahead. But also just the environment of, respect towards law enforcement, I think, has changed a great deal. What do you see? How do you assess this situation?
There's, I think, a lot of different reasons for it. I think the breakdown, the family structure, and it's not just towards police officers. I've been in the schools where the lack of respect for teachers is very prevalent as well. So they have a very tough job. But whether it's just a decrease in our value system,
the lack of value of life.
Yes. Yep. That's just it. I mean, we see, maybe 30, 40 years ago, you'd have fist fights, but now it's the younger generation that's not afraid to drive around with a handgun to fire off rounds or, actually fire them at people. It's just a lack of respect for life.
Yeah, you hit on a lot of things, Sheriff. It's kind of interesting. You hit on a couple of things there that I've actually had conversations with our school leaders over the last few weeks as we talk about, that conversation, just for your kind of knowledge, coincides with the teacher shortage and, people not wanting to get into education because of what you just said, the lack of respect for teachers, among other things. It's not solely that reason for sure, but it's an interesting place we find ourselves in. How do we get back to a place of respect for law enforcement? And it's probably, I'm guessing from your perspective, not a quick overnight fix. It's probably not even something we can legislate. How do you feel about that?
I think there's you have to look at both short-term and long-term solutions. I think short-term is holding people accountable. Those that are out there violating and breaking the laws and victimizing good people need to be held accountable. If they're out there committing these crimes, they have to do the time. They have to be sentenced and have those consequences built in. But then looking at long-term, what programs can we put in place to rebuild that family structure, those core values, to help get our very young population to respect law enforcement and our teachers and the rule of law as a whole.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Sheriff, you brought a lot of great perspective to the conversation this morning. Did I miss anything as it relates to recognitions like Dispatcher Week, Corrections Week, Police Week, anything in those conversations we haven't touched on you want to put out there for us?
One other thing I would add is Illinois' ceremony for Police Week is actually going to be this week. Thursday, May 5th at 11 o'clock. There's the ceremony in Springfield at the Law Enforcement Memorial there, which was built in 1990. It's on the west lawn of the state capitol. So that's this Thursday starting at 11 o'clock.
Sure. Sheriff, can folks follow along with the things happening in the Piatt County Sheriff's Office? Do you have social media, website they can go and visit, anything of that nature?
I would say the best spot would be our Facebook page, Piatt County Sheriff's Department's Facebook page.
Very good. Check it out. Again, Piatt County Sheriff Mark Vogelzang is my guest on the phone here this morning. Coverage of the morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. More to come on the morning show.
Let's check the markets on the RFD Radio Network. I'm DeLoss Yankee. Green screen to start the day after being lower on Monday, particularly in soybeans, sharply lower in soybeans and in soybean oil. This morning, made corn up a nickel, 8.18. July up 4 3/4, $8, 8 1/4 cents. And December up 4 3/4, $7.47. Made soybeans up a half, 16.74 1/2. July up 6 3/4. 16.52, in November up 5 1/2, 14.96. Soy meal up 240, 442.90. Soy oil up 162, 84.32. Chicago May wheat down a fraction, 10.43 1/2. Kansas City May down 7 1/2, but July up 12 1/4 at 11.10 1/4. This is the RFD Radio Network.
New trucks and SUVs are coming here at Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton. This is Scott Baum. Yes, we have new inventory arriving, and you can see what will arrive right on our website. Just click on the pre-order and reserve tab. From there, you will find vehicles in transit and vehicles in production. Or just call our sales staff and we'll help. Find Silverados, Equinoxes, Blazers, including Tahoes and Suburbans, as well as our complete Buick line of SUVs. BaumChevyBuick.com. Right from the start.
Here's a supply chain update from your Clinton Save-A-Lot. Owner Dave Jackson here to let you know that despite our best efforts, many times we're seeing specific items simply disappear off of our store shelves. Our suppliers are halting production of slower items to concentrate on the higher volume products. Keeping our shelves appearing full is becoming more difficult, but you have my personal guarantee we are pulling out all of the stops to keep the freshest meat and produce and the items you buy every day stocked and on our shelves. Your Clinton Save-A-Lot appreciates your business, and we hope to see you soon.
You're listening to The Morning Show, streamed by clicking the WHOW live icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Once again, good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. My guest on the phone is Piatt County Sheriff Mark Vogelzang. The morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Sheriff, as we chat here this morning, of course, the planting season is a bit behind schedule as we enter the month of May, and so that means in the next few weeks any opportunity farmers get, they are going to be out and full force ahead to get that seed in the ground. That's going to mean lots of equipment on especially rural roadways, which is the Piatt County area is full of those. So let's talk implement safety and planting season safety from both the motorist and the farmer perspective. What do you have for us, Sheriff?
Well, I grew up helping my grandfather farm, and man, that was 40 years ago, and the equipment has increased drastically in size. It's incredible, some of the machines that are out there right now. So obviously that takes up a lot more of our roadway. It's one of those, much like a semi, they're going to take wider turns. They might be taking up both lanes of traffic on some of these smaller roads. They have blind spots. They drive slower than our cars, 5 to 15 miles an hour. So yes, there's going to be a lot more congestion. May 15th is kind of a critical plant date to get stuff in the ground. So we have a little less than 2 weeks. I would imagine as soon as the fields start drying up and this rain stops, you're going to see a lot of traffic on the roadway with different farm implements.
Sure. How should folks, when they encounter these vehicles, handle that experience, Sheriff, especially if it's in a rural area where the roads aren't marked and, probably a lot of hilly areas in our rural area of central Illinois? Talk a little bit about that.
Sometimes it may be difficult, but slow down would be the biggest thing. Some of these machines are just massive, and several hundred thousands of dollars worth of equipment. So, whether you're trying to get around somebody or you're meeting them head on, it might be one of those that you have to pull way off the road or even potentially stop, because these machines, when they're pulling a disc or a chisel plow or something like that, they can't get over so far. They've got road signs on the side of the road, mailboxes, or drop-offs, soft shoulders, things like that. They can't get over as well. There's several bridges that you might have to stop before you get to the bridge, because if you pull onto that bridge and that tractor's already on there, you're going to end up having to back up just because they do not have anywhere to go on those narrow roads.
Very good, Sheriff. Anything else on that before we move along?
No, I think, the farmers do a phenomenal job, but, for the farmers out there, just making sure that their lights and their flashes are working, and, using those reflective tapes and those, the orange triangle signs, things like that to help make yourself much more visible helps as well.
Sure. Sheriff, I know that you've been focused on improving the radio system in Piatt County for better coverage. Tell us what the challenges you're facing currently are and how you're remedying those.
Correct. There's a lot of, rural agencies nationwide that experience dead spots throughout their county for many different reasons. But, it's very critical, because if our deputies are fighting somebody and need that assistance, or they're driving down the road and see a horrific crash, being able to get on that radio and clearly request the help, whether it's another deputy, whether it's a fire department for a fire, or medical for somebody that's been in a traffic crash, to be able to reach dispatch and get that is so important. And there's several areas through our county that there are dead spots. So we've worked with our ETSB board, the 911 board, and the county board to look at some solutions. And we've already had one meeting with one vendor and working to schedule another, just to see what options are out there at a reasonable cost to increase that radio coverage.
Sure. What do you, when your officers encounter a dead spot and they're in a situation where they need to radio back to dispatch, what are they kind of instructed to do in that situation?
It might be one of those to consistently try to get that radio signal, maybe moving a little bit, stepping out of the house, holding the radio up. It might be, if it's a true dead spot, maybe resorting to their cell phone at times, or getting back to their car. Our car radios, the ones that are installed in the cars, have a much better signal strength. So it might have to leave the house and get back to their car to use their car radio.
Interesting stuff. Sheriff, about a minute left with you. Talk to me either about Cerro Gordo contract or your SRO contract, which is of utmost importance here this morning.
We're excited about both. The Cerro Gordo contract, we're going to continue our services with them. That was approved by both their board and our county board. Our school resource contract is up, and our county board will be looking at that at their next meeting. So I think that's just a great thing for our citizens and especially our kids within our county.
Sure. Quickly give us a little background on the SRO contract. What schools does that cover, and how vital is that position?
You know, it's great, the relationships that are built in there. Our SRO splits her time between DLAND, Cerro Gordo, Bement, and Monticello schools. And it just, the relationships, like I said, are phenomenal to see the kids interact with our school resource officers and build those bonds. I think that's one thing that we're doing to help build that respect for our law enforcement, like we talked about earlier. But then a secondary benefit is that safety and security that she provides while in those schools.
Sheriff, always good to talk to you, sir. Thanks so much for your time today. Piatt County Sheriff Mark Vogelzang, our guest on the phone. Network news on the way on the WHOW Morning Show.
The Big 1520 WHOW Clinton, 92.3 FM.